hearing affordable for everyone. We're proud to offer high-quality, rechargeable hearing aids starting at just $98. Clear, comfortable, and ready to use right out of the box. And here's a study worth hearing. Research shows that wearing hearing aids can reduce your risk of dementia by up to 61%. Join over 1 million happy customers and hear the difference today by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
You're tuned in to Money Matters Boston, 1120 AM WBNW. This is WBNW, 1120 AM, the Money Matters Radio Network. This is the Money Matters Radio Network, WBNW 1120 AM and W275CM FM, Concord, Boston. The Money Matters Radio Network. If you've been dreaming about a getaway that feels far away, but easy to get to, it's time to think about the U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean. This is a place where you can fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Enjoy crystal clear water and powder-soft beaches, world-class dining, sailing, and unforgettable sunsets. And here's the best part. Travel from New England is easy. The U.S. Virgin Islands are part of the United States, which means no passport required and no money to exchange. Just pack your bags and go. Spend your day snorkeling, sailing, hiking, or simply relaxing by the water, and your evenings enjoying local cuisine, live music, and warm island breezes. Explore St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix, 3 distinct islands, each with its own vibe, its own flavor, and its own way of helping you unplug and reset. Start planning your Caribbean escape today and visit usvi.com. Discover why the U.S. Virgin Islands are America's Caribbean paradise. For more information and to book your trip, head to visitusvi.com. That's visitusvi.com.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. We pride ourselves on being able to support veterans in their time of greatest need, ensuring they receive the protections they deserve. For over 100 years, the DAV of Massachusetts has helped thousands of veterans with housing, transportation, and medical assistance, and you can help too. Please visit dav5k.boston and make a donation today. That's dav5k.boston.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you from Senior Care USA. The average funeral now costs over $10,000. That leaves your loved ones the burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay your family up to $30,000 to help pay for your funeral and other expenses. There are no medical exams. Your rates will never increase, and your plan cannot be canceled, regardless of your medical condition, as long as you make your premium payments. Get up to $30,000 in final expense insurance. Call now for free information. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. That's 800-378-3818.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we have a guide available this month titled How to Apply for Social Security and Medicare. Mike, one of the many questions that people have as it relates to Social Security and Medicare is, what's the difference in terms of how much I earn based on when I apply?
Yeah, and there's plenty of confusion around all of this because the ages have changed over the years as we've made reforms to the Social Security program, and there's different ages for Medicare and Social Security. So first things first, for vast majority of folks now, 67 is the current full retirement age. for Social Security, whereas 65 is the eligibility age for Medicare. And then you scale up or down your benefits depending on how much earlier or later you claim when it comes to Social Security.
An important thing to note, you don't have a do-over on this. Basically, when you claim Social Security, that is what you are locking yourself into. The programs where you used to be able to adjust that, they haven't been around for a while now.
No, and so, for example, if you end up claiming your benefit at 62, in addition to having penalties for how much you get in earned income, you're going to be collecting about 30% less than your full retirement benefit, whereas if you wait all the way until age 70, you'll be collecting about 124% of that full retirement age benefit.
Our guide is titled How to Apply for Social Security and Medicare, and there are two ways that you can request it. The first is by calling 800-393-4001. The second is by going to ArmstrongAdvisory.com. That number again is 800-393-4001, or you can request it at ArmstrongAdvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
Hope everyone enjoyed the little tease of 2026 trading that we got on Friday. This week we kicked things off in earnest with the first full week of trading, and we've got a pretty full week on the calendar. This is before we even discuss the Venezuela situation, which I don't think anyone really was thinking Friday morning, hey, this is what we're going to talk about on Monday morning, but
here we are.
It's something that we're going to cover. But before we get to that, just a preview of what else is coming this week. First, we've got ISM Manufacturing that just came out this morning with a reading of 47.9. That's down from 48.2. We'll dig into that a little bit later and see if there's anything useful in a report that, quite honestly, hasn't been useful in any way, shape, or form for the last 5 years. Then tomorrow, nothing. There's just not anything interesting unless you are, curious about the LMI Logistics Managers Index,
the Final Services PMI, or Fed President Tom Barkin.
Not really interested. Again, it's nothing. Wednesday, we kick into high gear, though. We've got ADP's employment data, we've got ISM services, and we've got the job openings and labor turnover survey, the JOLTS report for November. So that is all on Wednesday. Thursday, we've got weekly jobless claims. Friday, we've got building permits, housing starts, and the jobs report for December.
We do.
So, busy week. Nothing really on earnings this week. We start to get into some of the banks next week, so it's pretty quiet on that front right now. But I think we have to spend at least a little bit of time discussing Venezuela at this point because, look, I spent a little bit of time, bopping around the old X platform over the weekend, and I got to tell you, I had no idea that there were so many Venezuelan oil industry experts out there. I mean, everyone, Michael, knows everything about oil, and not just oil, but the kind of oil there is in Venezuela, how to get it out of the ground, how it tastes, what recipes you can put it in. Everyone is just a genius when it comes to knowing everything about Venezuela now.
Well, quick input into ChatGPT, and you can suddenly become an expert in darn near anything.
So, this is a fancy and, a little bit sarcastic way of saying I'm not an oil expert. I'm not a Venezuela expert. I do have a good friend of mine who was from Venezuela originally, hasn't lived there in 15, 20 years now. But, I can chat with him at least about, what's going on politically to have like a 30% understanding of what's actually happening there. My understanding of oil is I put some gas in my car to fill it up this weekend, and it goes, and that's good. So here's what we know at this point. The United States, obviously, unless you've been living under a rock, has removed Nicolas Maduro from power at this point. Right now, the VP of Venezuela is running the country. It is unclear the exact relationship that she and the U.S. government may or may not have. There were indications from the U.S. government that they wanted to basically have her in place and that they had, discussed things with her in the run-up to this. Her only public speech to this point has basically been, hey, get Maduro back in the country because you took him and he's one of our citizens. So it's unclear exactly what the posturing is on, either side and what may or may not have and what's all theater on this. I'm not going to speculate because I don't know. There are a million possible, different ways that you can look at this. Everything from, hey, they didn't actually discuss this to they did and she's just pretending they didn't so that she can have some legitimacy still. Like, there's a ton of different possibilities. What I do know from, again, my limited understanding of the Venezuelan political situation is no matter how you slice it, this right now internally is not something with a whole lot of stability at this point. And there are at least several factions within the Venezuelan government that are likely to be competing for influence and power.
There's a power
in the absence
vacuum
of Maduro's presence.
Yeah, there's a power vacuum, as you've seen in many different occasions when something along these lines has happened. And so who is going to ultimately lead this country a week, a month, or a year from now, I think is really anybody's guess.
It's also unclear exactly how involved the Trump administration wants to be involved in the oversight and maintenance and actual, governance of Venezuela. I mean, clearly you're not going to have the U.S. take over governance entirely, but it was suggested a couple times during press conferences this weekend that, hey, you might have the Secretary of State and Secretary of Defense, kind of running things in the interim.
Right.
And that's at odds with what the Venezuelan VP has said to this point. It's also unclear if there will be any kind of U.S. security presence on the ground. It's been suggested that there may be by the president. It's also been suggested that there's no appetite for it, and so that's not something that's being actively considered right now. So again, I don't think that we know a ton about this. And I don't think it's worth speculating because what are we going to do? Be like, well, I think they're going to do this. Well, I think they're going to...
There'll be plenty of places you can go if you wish to speculate about what might be happening in Venezuela right now. Just turn on any social media channel and everyone will tell you what they think is going to happen. We're not going to do that here.
You can listen to us while you do that, so you can multitask and get the best of both worlds.
I think there are some things that we have a little bit more concrete understanding of, and one would be the state of Venezuelan oil deposits and the oil industry itself.
Yes. So here's the thing about Venezuela. They have a metric crap oil, which is the technical term in the biz. $303 billion of proven reserves for Venezuela. That is the largest level of proven reserves for any country in the world.
You showed me a chart this morning, and it... Again, U.S. is the largest oil producer in the world.
Yes.
Getting it out of the ground and selling it into markets. But it absolutely dwarfs the proven oil reserves in the United States, for example.
Yeah, if you look at this just as an example, Venezuela has 303 billion barrels of proven oil reserves. The United States has 45 billion. So Venezuela has more than 6 times as much oil in the United States. When you talk about, big oil producing countries like Saudi Arabia's got 267 billion barrels of proven reserves. So Venezuela is more than 10% above them. Iran, 208 billion. Canada, 171 billion. Iraq, 145 billion. Russia, 80 billion. Just to give you a sense of this, there's a lot of oil in Venezuela. The issues, as I understand them, are threefold when it comes to actually getting that oil out of the ground. The first is the state of Venezuelan oil production is somewhere between terrible and really, really, really terrible. At one point within the last couple decades, Venezuela was producing 3 million barrels a day, which is still less than a quarter of what the U.S. currently produces. The problem is that through a combination of incompetence, corruption, and general malfeasance, that production has fallen from north of 3 million barrels a day to 700,000. No one really knows what kind of shape any of these wells are in. No one really has any idea if any of the equipment is working beyond, kind of what's already producing. And so until you actually get in there and look at this stuff in some kind of depth, you don't really know how much money, time, and effort is going to be needed in order to get things back up to ship shape.
Got it.
Number two, it's kind of a combination of things, but there are two reasons why, these are the other two parts of the three reasons why it's kind of hard to get the oil out of the ground there. Most of the oil reserves are in a part of the country that is really mountainous, rough terrain that's hard to navigate and get any kind of heavy equipment and machinery through.
Mountainous rainforest.
There's a reason why, despite having 6 times the amount of oil that the U.S. has in reserves, they never produced more than 3 million barrels a day. It's really hard to do so because of the terrain, and the type of oil they have can best be compared to Canada's oil sands, where it is this heavy, thick, messy stuff that just is not easy to extract because of, quite literally, the weight and consistency of it. It's really hard to do that without what I gather from, again, my understanding as a novice exploring this, you basically need to use a bunch of high pressure steam to force this stuff to move the way that you want it to. And in this terrain that you have, it's kind of hard to, get high pressure steam in quantities into there.
So I think the important point about all this is a lot has been made about the ability and efficiency of U.S. oil companies, the infrastructure that they have, and their capability of going in here and increasing production, which does exist. But I think an important counterpoint, it is not merely poor infrastructure, corruption, and incompetence that has led Venezuela to not produce quite as much oil as they might be able to.
Which leads us to the question of, okay, what is the actual impact on energy markets as a result of this? We'll talk about that next.
Breaking business and financial news first throughout the day. Only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. When a loved one needs a nursing home, decisions need to be made quickly. If you haven't started planning yet, get Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. In it, you'll learn how to make smart decisions and avoid unnecessary expenses. Call 866-848-5699 to get your free guide today. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hi, I'm Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV of Massachusetts provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and soldiers' homes and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for both single veterans and those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
If you've been dreaming about a getaway that feels far away but easy to get to, It's time to think about the U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean. This is a place where you can fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Enjoy crystal clear water and powder-soft beaches, world-class dining, sailing, and unforgettable sunsets. And here's the best part. Travel from New England is easy. The U.S. Virgin Islands are part of the United States, which means no passport required and no money to exchange. Just pack your bags and go. Spend your day snorkeling, sailing, hiking, or simply relaxing by the water, and your evenings enjoying local cuisine, live music, and warm island breezes. Explore St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix, 3 distinct islands, each with its own vibe, its own flavor, and its own way of helping you unplug and reset. Start planning your Caribbean escape today and visit usvi.com. Discover why the U.S. Virgin Islands are America's Caribbean paradise. For more information and to book your trip, head to visitusvi.com. That's visitusvi.com.
Social Security and Medicare are oftentimes lumped together, but may be handled separately. And depending on your strategy, they could shape your entire retirement plan. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Choosing when to start Social Security has many effects, including determining the amount of guaranteed income you receive each month. Medicare decisions go beyond coverage as they can impact premiums, out-of-pocket costs, and access to providers throughout retirement. Our new guide is called How to Apply for Social Security and Medicare. It will help you learn how these decisions may fit together and how to take the right steps at the right time to build a secure retirement plan. Call us at 800-393-4001 to get your copy of How to Apply for Social Security and Medicare. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request it online from our website, armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Did you outgrow your timeshare and now you want out? But you can't. You can't sell it, and you can't get out of the contract. Imagine trying to get out of your mortgage. That's what a timeshare is. You can't just call up the bank and say, I don't want to pay it anymore. But we may be able to help you do just that. Listen, a timeshare maybe for you once was a great thing, but now you don't use it much. And they are not easy to get rid of. Plus, you do have to pay for it every month. Qualified timeshare owners can get out of their contract legally and permanently without ruining your credit or even filing bankruptcy. And imagine no more mortgage payment or fees. Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline qualification line now. It's free to learn more.
800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. That's 800-455-7967. Paid for by Timeshare Defense.
Text us 617-362-1385 with your comments and questions about today's show, and let us know what you think about the stories we're covering. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
This segment of the Financial Exchange is brought to you by the U.S. Virgin Islands Department of Tourism. Experience America's Caribbean and fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands while enjoying incredible beaches, world-class cuisine, and unforgettable sunsets. The weather is perfect all year round, so head to visitusvi.com and book your trip to St. Croix, St. Thomas, or St. John. Enjoy one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. The USVI is America's Caribbean paradise. Plan your winter escape now at visitusvi.com. That's visitusvi.com.
All right, so in the last segment, we talked a little bit about the state of play in Venezuela and how Mike and I don't really know what comes next, and we'll just have to see what happens. But the question that's out there is, hey, with all of this oil that's sitting in the ground in Venezuela, gosh, like it sure seems like there's going to be something related to that oil happening at some point, especially since the Trump administration has come out and in no uncertain terms said, yeah, we want the oil. So it raises the question of what impact this can have on global energy markets. And thus far, on Monday, January 5th of 2026, the answer is
zero.
Not much. West Texas Intermediate is up 0.5%
32
today.
cents.
So there's basically no major movement happening in oil markets. And we talked in the last segment about the reasons why it might take, it's generally hard to extract oil from Venezuela. And so the question that's out there in my mind is, okay, what is the actual investment from other, from companies going to be to try to get access to these reserves?
Sure.
And I think there are a whole bunch of things that need to be sorted out before you can even get to that point. The first of which is, who am I dealing with? Like, let's say that I run Chuck Oil, okay, and I've got $10 billion that I'm looking to invest next year. The first question that I have is, okay, so something happened in Venezuela. Who do I call to see if I can even get access?
Ghostbusters.
Do I?
Whenever somebody says, "Who do you call?" That's my
I know.
answer.
Do I call the current Venezuelan VP?
Sure.
I don't know what staying power she has. Do I call Marco Rubio? Do I call, a bunch of FARC guerrillas from Colombia and say, "Hey, can you help me get in there?" These are honest questions about just like what access will I have and who do I talk to on this. The second question that you have on this is, okay, let's say that I get the right person to talk to. Well, look, what guarantees do I have that if I make a $10 billion investment, that A, you're going to provide protection so that investment continues, operating and isn't sabotaged by other, local groups or whatever. And B, what guarantee do I have that 10, 15 years from now, some new Venezuelan government doesn't come in and say, hey, nice well you got there. It's ours now. The cost of doing development in Venezuela is almost certainly less on a per barrel basis than the United States. But the expected profit might not be, I don't even know how you run that calculation, just because what probability do you assign to the possibility that, hey, this well might not be yours by the time it's completed?
Right.
These are some of the challenges that I think you have to sort through. So I do suspect that anyone involved in anything related to this is going to be getting a whole bunch of calls from, energy companies and interested investors being like, yeah, we'd like to take a look at it. As far as actual dollar investment in the production of Venezuelan oil, everything I have read has pointed to the fact that there is very likely no meaningful shift in production for at least several years, just because even if you started moving in right now, it would take that long to actually figure out how to ramp the stuff up. And beyond that, hey, if I'm ExxonMobil and I can do some drilling in the Permian Basin and some drilling off the coast of Louisiana versus this, how do I weigh how much risk I want to take with my investors' money in moving it towards Venezuelan deposits?
Yeah, it comes back to a number of themes that we've talked about at length recently regarding a number of different subjects, but how willing is the U.S. government to backstop this? Because that's likely what many of these producers would need, is some form of guarantee and backstop by the U.S. government to say, yes, there will be stability here and we will back the loans for the development of all this if it all comes crumbling down. And by the way, with all this, we haven't even bled into any of the global geopolitical side of all of this, the ties between Venezuela, China. Obviously, the China-Venezuela ties have weakened over the last decade, but China over the decades has lent or invested in Venezuela tens of billions of dollars. What sort of message do they take by this? There's a whole Taiwan angle that I don't even know that we want to get into today, but
there's Russia, there's Iran. I
think the point would be there are other reasons for the U.S. to have interest in Venezuela beyond its oil.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And so I think in terms of where I land on this, the economic impact of this in the short term, I think, is pretty likely to be minimal unless China decides, not specifically on the Taiwan thing, but unless China decides, hey, we're unhappy that you're cutting off a source of oil for us, and now we're going to throw the rare earth thing back at you again.
Yeah.
but, we'll kind of have to see how this goes. So I'm not expecting major economic impact from this, and I think the market is responding that way too. Oil prices are not moving a ton. You don't have, huge dislocations in markets happening. Markets are kind of saying, okay, we'll take a wait-and-see approach. That's mine as well. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, it's Wall Street Watch.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @TFE Show. Breaking business news is always first, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. If you've been dreaming about a getaway that feels far away but easy to get to, it's time to think about the U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean. This is a place where you can fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Enjoy crystal clear water and powder-soft beaches, world-class dining, sailing, and unforgettable sunsets. And here's the best part. Travel from New England is easy. The U.S. Virgin Islands are part of the United States, which means no passport required and no money to exchange. Just pack your bags and go. Spend your day snorkeling, sailing, hiking, or simply relaxing by the water, and your evenings enjoying local cuisine, live music, and warm island breezes. Explore St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix, 3 distinct islands, each with its own vibe, its own flavor, and its own way of helping you unplug and reset. Start planning your Caribbean escape today and visit usvi.com. Discover why the U.S. Virgin Islands are America's Caribbean paradise. For more information and to book your trip, head to visitusvi.com. That's visitusvi.com.
Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Retirement comes with a lot of exciting freedom, but also with some permanent decisions. 2 of the most important ones are when to file for Social Security and how to set up your Medicare coverage. Claim Social Security too early and your monthly check may be permanently reduced. Missing Medicare enrollment deadlines might mean significant penalties and gaps in coverage. We have a new guide available called How to Apply for Social Security and Medicare. It breaks down when you can apply, what information you'll need, and how these decisions fit into a smart, coordinated retirement plan. Get your copy today by calling 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request the guide online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
It happens all over Massachusetts. In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
This is Tucker Silva, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange quick tip of the day. And we're talking about last-minute nursing home lessons that can help save your assets. What can be done last minute to save your home and your liquid assets when one spouse is entering the nursing home?
So with a married couple, you do have more options than as a single person, but with a married couple, your home is not at risk because the community spouse living in the home is allowed to keep the home. Doesn't matter the value, as long as they're living there, it's not countable and non-lienable. They also give the healthy spouse about $135,000 to keep. It's not a lot when you think of the big picture, but all the rest of the money would be at risk. But at least a quick last-minute way of protecting all those other dollars, all over and above that $135,000, would be to basically transfer the assets, those excess assets, to the community spouse, which, by the way, is not a disqualifying transfer, so no 5-year waiting period. And then once once that community spouse gets those assets, depending on their age, they can buy what is known as a Medicaid qualifying annuity. These are special annuities. They convert the excess assets into an income stream, and then it's no longer an asset, keeping the community spouse over assets. Then the community spouse and the sick spouse are under assets, and they're eligible for Medicaid.
Cushing & Dolan has written a brand new guide, especially for those of you who have put off doing your planning and are now faced with a last-minute nursing home situation. Request this brand new guide from Cushing & Dolan at 866-848-5699. It's called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. 866-848-5699. Or if you prefer, you can simply go to their website, legalexchangeshow.com, and request it there.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Time now for Wall Street Watch, a complete look at what's moving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Markets beginning the week in positive territory despite the weekend attack on Venezuela and the capture of its leader. However, there is no major movement in oil prices to this point. Wall Street's also waiting for an on-time jobs report slated to come out on Friday morning. Right now, the Dow is up 1.4% or 670 points. S&P 500 is up 0.8% or 55 points higher. NASDAQ up about 1% or 228 points. Russell 2000 also up 1%. 10-year Treasury yield down 2 basis points at 4.167%. Crude oil up about 1%, trading at $57.89 a barrel. Chevron among the big energy winners on the day, as the company is the sole remaining U.S. major oil player in Venezuela. That stock is up 4%. Other energy stocks, including ConocoPhillips, ExxonMobil, and Halliburton, are also seeing gains on the day. Outside of energy, investors are awaiting the Consumer Electronics Show to kick off later today in Las Vegas, where chief executives of both NVIDIA and AMD are slated to speak. Both NVIDIA and AMD are up over 0.5%. Meanwhile, Comcast shares are up over 1% as regular trading of the TV network owner's Versant spinoff began today. Versant shares, by the way, down 13%. And Uber downgraded to sell from hold. Emilius Research, where the firm said the ride-hailing company is at risk from increased competition, including from the likes of Waymo and Tesla. Uber down by over 1% at the moment. I'm Tucker Silva, and that is Wall Street Watch. And remember, you can watch the show live every day on our YouTube page. We'll have breaking business news, and all of our content is also archived. So if you want to go back and see an interview or a discussion about a specific topic, it's all there with the click of a button. Just search the Financial Exchange on YouTube and hit that subscribe button.
Let's see. Wall Street expects the market to keep rallying in 2026 despite lofty valuations. It's a piece in the Wall Street Journal. It's not really a story. Like, I don't know. Like,
it isn't. Yeah. If you would like to guess what's going to happen in markets next, your
valuation's not a good timing mechanism.
Best predictor is probably what happened most recently. So sure, Wall Street expects. By the way, on an annual basis, stocks go up what percent of the time? Like 60+%?
Almost 70.
So most of the time, stocks do increase in value.
And even when they've been expensive before, they've increased in value. Was anyone, at the start of last year sitting around, Mike, do you remember the conversations we had in January of last year being like, man, stocks are so cheap, I can't wait for them to go up?
Right. No.
No, they were really expensive.
And people were talking about how they were expensive.
Yes.
This was not new.
And they still went up.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that they will still go up right now, but what I am saying is something I've repeated quite often, which is, when you talk about lofty valuations as being an impediment for stocks, it's not. Lofty valuations don't say anything about how high valuations can continue to move. They do tell you if something goes wrong, then there's probably further to fall, but they don't tell you anything about what's going to happen, like whether stocks will or won't go down. And they're not a predictor of what's going to happen in the future.
The only thing that you can say that has any sort of predictive nature to it when you talk about lofty valuations has nothing to do with short-term returns in stocks. You can say something that is fairly convincing to me, at least, when you look at longer-term returns on stocks based on lofty valuations, and the answer is just plainly, they're not great. When you get over a certain threshold, you can chart this out, but you can also take my word for it that the higher the starting point on valuations, the lower the expected 10-year return.
Yeah.
Like, it's got a pretty good correlation, and you've got 100-plus years worth of data to justify it. And when you get to lofty valuations, it tells you almost nothing about what the next year is going to do, but tells you a little bit of something when you look at a 10-year record after. And it doesn't mean negative, by the way. It just means below average.
Sure.
An average, let's call, depending on the time series you're looking at,
8 to 10%
8 to
annualized.
12%, depending on what time period you want to look at. So that's what I'm comfortable saying. And this article doesn't even mention that important piece. So throw it out.
Toss
Next.
it. Okay. Let's see. Modest U.S. hiring to cap a sluggish year for the job market.
This I agree with.
Yeah. I think one of the
I was asked this morning, like, what are the expectations? Sorry to interrupt you, Chuck, but
No, it's fine.
what are the expectations for 2026? And I think this is actually one of them, which is modest and sluggish job market continues in through 2026.
I think the question that's out there in the labor market, because there are three ways that we can go right now. I know there's always three ways that you can go in the labor market, but in particular, like when we talk about a sluggish job market, like let's say that we still want to believe that it's sluggish. By the way, it's just like, isn't that a great word? Like you're like a slug, you know? Oh, it's just outstanding.
There aren't many living organisms I'd prefer to be compared to less.
Why is it sluggish and not slug-like?
I don't know.
You know, you never call
sluggish sounds better.
You never call someone snakish.
Yeah.
You never call someone, elephantish.
True.
But anyways, a sluggish job market. Does that mean that we continue to just be kind of what we've seen the last few months, hovering around zero, net job creation? Because that would be considered sluggish. Do we continue just kind of this slow, gradual decline in the pace of hiring that's been going on for almost 4 years now, in which case maybe hiring goes net negative by the first half of this year, but doesn't really accelerate down. It's just a continued step down from where we've been.
I would also consider that sluggish. Anything that doesn't chart out to look like a spike in the unemployment rate, to me, is fairly sluggish.
You then get to the third possibility for just bad, which is, you get to a point where historically the unemployment rate starts to spike up, and that's, not great.
That's not sluggish. That's ugly.
The question that I have out there, and that I think is the reasonable one to ask, and there's a path to this that I'll get to. Hey, what's the path to improvement in the job market? And it's twofold. It's, hey, the big beautiful bill is going to give people bigger tax refunds this year and give companies the ability to increase CapEx, and that's going to drive demand, which will in turn drive hiring. Sure. That's your way that you get to increased hiring this year.
Is there a second way?
No.
Yeah.
Because remember, ultimately, hiring's typically a function of demand.
Yeah.
If I am running an ice cream shop,
yeah,
and I don't have enough customers, I say, Jimmy,
you're fired.
I don't fire him first. I say you can't come in for 2 days this week, and then I fire him. If I'm running the ice cream shop and I can't keep up, I've got a line out the door, and I'm like, I need to be serving these people faster, I hire someone to help serve them faster. Demand leads hiring and firing decisions. So the way that you see increased job growth would be if those bigger tax refunds and additional CapEx from the big beautiful bill translate into more spending, which in turn requires more hiring to, actually service the spending. That's how you get there. And so that's why I continue to think the real weakness, the window of potential weakness for the labor market, for something really bad to show up, feels like it's probably in the next 3 to 5 months.
Okay.
That's kind of where I land.
Thanks for willing to put a time frame on it. I like that.
You know, if it doesn't show up then, I don't really think it shows up in the second half of the year. It's kind of where I'm apt to use the bad English that I love to.
Yeah, we don't usually save our tax refunds and then spend them 6 months later.
Right. Hey, I just got $1,000 from the IRS. What are you going to do?
Put it in a CD for 6 months and then see what's up. No, that's not how it works.
You know, it's more often than not, it's one of two things. Well, it's going to go pay off the Christmas vacation that we took, or it's going to go pay for the 4th of July vacation we're going to take.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've already spent it, is what happened.
Usually. Yes, more often than not. Let's take a quick break. When we return, we're going to talk a little bit about productivity in the United States right after this.
The Financial Exchange streams live on YouTube. Subscribe to our page and stay up to date on breaking business news all morning long. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Social Security and Medicare are oftentimes lumped together, but may be handled separately. And depending on your strategy, they could shape your entire retirement plan. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Choosing when to start Social Security has many effects, including determining the amount of guaranteed income you receive each month. Medicare decisions go beyond coverage as they can impact premiums, out-of-pocket costs, and access to providers throughout retirement. Our new guide is called How to Apply for Social Security and Medicare. It will help you learn how these decisions may fit together and how to take the right steps at the right time to build a secure retirement plan. Call us at 800-393-4001 to get your copy of How to Apply for Social Security and Medicare. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request it online from our website, armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. This is a message for families who've been putting off their estate planning from the elder law attorneys at Cushing & Dolan. One of the biggest myths about long-term care is that if you didn't plan 5 years ahead, you're out of options. That's simply not true. When a health crisis hits and a loved one needs nursing home care, many families panic and start writing checks for care that may cost over $10,000 a month. The reality is, there may still be meaningful legal options available, even when planning starts late. Cushing & Dolan have just released a new guide called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. It breaks down what the 5-year look-back really means and what steps can still be considered before making decisions that can be incredibly costly. If you're worried about protecting your family and securing your financial future, call Cushing & Dolan at 866-848-5699 to get your free guide today. That's 866-848-5699 or request it online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. If you've been dreaming about a getaway that feels far away but easy to get to, it's time to think about the U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean. This is a place where you can fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Enjoy crystal clear water and powder-soft beaches, world-class dining, sailing, and unforgettable sunsets. And here's the best part. Travel from New England is easy. The U.S. Virgin Islands are part of the United States, which means no passport required and no money to exchange. Just pack your bags and go. Spend your day snorkeling, sailing, hiking, or simply relaxing by the water, and your evenings enjoying local cuisine, live music, and warm island breezes. Explore St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix, 3 distinct islands, each with its own vibe, its own flavor, and its own way of helping you unplug and reset. Start planning your Caribbean escape today and visit usvi.com. Discover why the U.S. Virgin Islands are America's Caribbean paradise. For more information and to book your trip, head to visitusvi.com. That's visitusvi.com.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. That's 800-965-7987. Paid for by Term Direct.
Business and financial news affecting the markets and your wallet. We've got it all straight from Wall Street right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
We got a piece of the Financial Times today. U.S. to extend productivity lead on the back of AI boom, say economists. More than 3/4 of U.S. economists expect the U.S. to maintain or widen its productivity lead over the rest of the world because of artificial intelligence, deep capital markets, and relatively low energy cost, a Financial Times survey has found. Your thoughts, Michael?
Well, I do find it fascinating that the U.S. One thing we do know is that the U.S. has expanded its productivity gain over pretty much everywhere else in the world over the last 5-6 years now, really since 2019 and through COVID. And at the same time, we have really the foremost experts on AI saying that there's been no meaningful, visible shift in benefit to companies from their use of artificial intelligence. And so I'm not sure that I'm prepared to say that AI is going to continue some productivity boom. We clearly got a productivity boom in COVID for a number of different factors that were calculable and displayable. But does that, does that continue? And I mean, look, this is the entire promise of artificial intelligence, of really any new technology, but especially with something like AI, where it is so intended to be human-like. The idea is entirely that you should be able to be more productive on it. And I would argue we might not have seen the gains from that yet. I don't know if we will get them or not, but that is definitely the promise of this technology.
This is a message for families who've been putting off their estate planning from the elder law attorneys at Cushing & Dolan. One of the biggest myths about long-term care is that if you didn't plan 5 years ahead, you're out of options. Well, that's simply not true. When a health crisis hits and a loved one needs nursing home care, many families panic and start writing checks for care that may cost over $10,000 a month. The reality is there may still be meaningful legal options available even when planning starts late. Cushing & Dolan have just released a new guide called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. It breaks down what the 5-year look back really means and what steps can still be considered before making decisions that can be incredibly costly. If you're worried about protecting your family and securing your financial future, call Cushing & Dolan at 866-848-5699 to get your free guide today. That's 866-848-5699, or you can request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
These 19 states just raised their minimum wages. And again, you've got a bunch of these that are moving up this year. In particular, for those of our listeners in the New England region, we've got Rhode Island moving up $1 an hour from $15 to $16 an hour. It's also got another $1 an hour increase scheduled next year. Maine is moving up by 45 cents an hour to $15.10. Vermont up 41 cents an hour to $14.42 an hour. And Connecticut by 59 cents an hour to $16.94. Those all from inflation adjustments that are built in there. And the other two New England states, New Hampshire and Massachusetts, not seeing any changes to their minimum wage laws for the year.
Quickly on Maine, just because I was speaking to somebody from one of the other radio stations and how it actually works there. So you have the Maine minimum wage, which increased to, what was it?
$15.10.
In Portland, however, the minimum wage increased to $16.30. Now, Portland's a very small geographical area, and so his point was, if you work in South Portland, you have a different minimum wage than Portland.
I wonder if you actually do in practice.
Right. I mean, I would think that you have no choice but to match the Portland minimum wage in a circumstance like that, but it is more than $1. What did you say, 15?
$15.10.
Yeah, so more than $1 additional if you are working in Portland compared to South Portland, which is fascinating to me. Nationally, outside of New England, you saw Arizona increase all the way to $15.15. Increased in California to $16.90. Colorado.
What
to
about
15,
the California?
16.
What about fast?
Yeah,
fast
depends
food
on what
minimum wage?
industry you work in, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
probably $100 an hour now. For all I know. In Connecticut, you're up to $16.94, as you mentioned. Hawaii up to $16. Michigan up to $13.73. Minnesota $11.41. Missouri, surprisingly, $15 an hour in Missouri. Montana up to $10.85. Nebraska to $15. New Jersey to $15.92. New York has different ones for like every area that you possibly work in, so I'm not going to go there. The remainder of the state is 16, but if you are in New York City, Long Island, or Westchester, you're at $17 an hour in New York. Ohio to 11, South Dakota to 11.85, Vermont to 14.42, Virginia to 12.77, and Washington to 17.13. I guess just one comment I'll make about this. This is not purely a red or blue state thing anymore, right? No. I mean, you take a look at politics in South Dakota and Montana and things like that. Pretty, stay out of my business politics there. And yet, increasing minimum wages and pretty substantial minimum wages in some of those states.
So California, I did look it up. The fast food minimum wage is $20 an hour.
Okay.
What's interesting is that the minimum wage for everyone else went up by 40 cents this year, but the fast food one is unchanged.
Right.
Which raises the question, what are we actually doing here? Which is one that we've raised quite a bit on the fast food minimum wage in California, because effectively, it just doesn't make sense if we're going to be honest about it. And again, so you say that you want this higher fast food minimum wage, but it's clearly you're not worried about the difference between regular minimum wage and the fast food one. Otherwise, you would have raised the fast food one this year also, which they can do, I think, because it's a committee that votes on it. It's not a public measure that, is, voted on at this point. So I kind of look at it, I'm like, what are you actually trying to do here? Which is an answer that I've been wondering about for several years now and still continue to. So that's what's going on with minimum wage. On a related note, America is falling out of love with pizza.
Speaking of restaurants.
I disagree.
Does this fall in line with the sushi story that we covered the other day, where young kids are becoming infatuated with expensive sushi and devouring very expensive fish?
I'm going to go with no.
Okay.
What I'm going to go with is, historically, there's a reason why pizza and Chinese food were the only two delivery options, and it's because they travel well. Okay. The pizza gets to your house, it's still pizza. The fried rice gets to your house, it's still fried rice. There's a reason why you don't do, steaks and pasta and stuff like that. It's because it generally turns into kind of crap by the time it gets to you. However, we're not deterred by that, and DoorDash now has all kinds of stuff on there. Pizza places have more competition now, and I think that is why they are facing this this problem. I say this as a proud Friday Pizza Club member, though, and anything else? Oh, yeah, if you're not pizzaing on Friday night, what are you doing? Not living. Let's take a quick break. Hour 2's coming up in a bit.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
Sometimes we know what's next. Other times, it's impossible to know. Life can change in an instant. Don't be caught standing by the next time someone's heart stops. Knowing CPR gives you the ability to act and takes you from bystander to lifesaver. CPR is a life-saving skill. Join the nation of lifesavers today by learning CPR at heart.org/nation. National support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV of Massachusetts has helped me and countless others adjust to civilian life through a variety of incredible programs. Through our local Veterans Assistance Program, we provide necessary services to veterans and their communities, such as food shopping, landscaping, and companionship, but we need your support. You can help by making a donation today. Please visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you from Senior Care USA. The average funeral now costs over $10,000. That leaves your loved ones the burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay your family up to $30,000 to help pay for your funeral and other expenses. There are no medical exams. Your rates will never increase, and your plan cannot be canceled, regardless of your medical conditions, as long as you make your premium payments. Get up to $30,000 in final expense insurance. Call now for free information. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. That's 800-378-3818.
This is the Money Matters Radio Network. WBNW 1120 AM and W275CM FM. Concord, Boston. The Money Matters Radio Network.
Here at the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, we are committed to all students not only attending, but succeeding at school. Your presence is powerful. Share why you attend at doe.mass.edu.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
If you've been dreaming about a getaway that feels far away, but easy to get to, it's time to think about the U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean. This is a place where you can fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Enjoy crystal clear water and powder-soft beaches, world-class dining, sailing, and unforgettable sunsets. And here's the best part. Travel from New England is easy. The U.S. Virgin Islands are part of the United States, which means no passport required and no money to exchange. Just pack your bags and go. Spend your day snorkeling, sailing, hiking, or simply relaxing by the water, and your evenings enjoying local cuisine, live music, and warm island breezes. Explore St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix, 3 distinct islands, each with its own vibe, its own flavor, and its own way of helping you unplug and reset. Start planning your Caribbean escape today and visit usvi.com. Discover why the U.S. Virgin Islands are America's Caribbean paradise. For more information and to book your trip, head to visitusvi.com. That's visitusvi.com.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group. We have a guide available this month titled How to Apply for Social Security and Medicare. Mike, when we talk about actually determining when to apply, there are a few different factors that go into it, but I think really the specifics of, hey, if I want money at date X, when do I apply is kind of at the crux of this.
Oh, sure. And, oftentimes when you go to apply, they will actually tell you that they're backdating your application to the date that you apply. And so your first check might include a few checks of Social Security. You do have to be specific about when you request the actual start date. The good news is you do get a prorated increase for, we talk about this in years, but you do get a prorated increase for every month that you end up delaying your Social Security benefit. And you can be highly specific about when you actually want the income to start.
How does one go about determining what age they actually should start Social Security?
Yeah, look, every actuary out there will tell you this is all a life expectancy question and calculation. I'll tell you there's more to it than that, but it is highly specific to each individual. When am I retiring? When is my spouse retiring? When do I actually need this money to kick in? And what is my backup plan for covering my expenses if it doesn't kick in right away? So yes, life expectancy, a major factor in the decision, but there are other questions to be answered as well.
Our guide is titled How to Apply for Social Security and Medicare, and the ways that you can request it, there's 2 of them. First, you can call 800-393-4001. The second way, you can go to armstrongadvisory.com. Again, that phone number is 800-393-4001, or request the guide online at armstrongadvisory.com. investopedia.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. From the other law attorneys at Cushing & Dolan, here's something you need to hear. Most people think long-term care planning is something they'll get to someday, until suddenly someday is today. When a spouse or parent needs nursing home care and no planning was done, the costs can be overwhelming. Cushing & Dolan are elder law and estate planning attorneys who help New England families protect their homes, savings, and retirement, even when a health crisis comes out of nowhere. They've just released a new guide called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. It explains what options may still be available and what steps you should take before writing that first check to a nursing home. If you've been putting this off, or a loved one needs care right now, time matters. Call Cushing & Dolan today at 866-848-5699 to get your free guide. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request it online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Did you outgrow your timeshare and now you want out? But you can't. You can't sell it, and you can't get out of the contract. Imagine trying to get out of your mortgage. That's what a timeshare is. You can't just call up the bank and say, I don't want to pay it anymore. But we may be able to help you do just that. Listen, a timeshare maybe for you once was a great thing, but now you don't use it much. And they are not easy to get rid of. Plus, you do have to pay for it every month. Qualified timeshare owners can get out of their contract legally and permanently without ruining your credit or even filing bankruptcy. And imagine no more mortgage payment or fees. Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline qualification line now. It's free to learn more.
800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. That's 800-455-7967. Paid for by Timeshare Defense.
The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
Chuck Mike Tucker with you here on the Financial Exchange, and as we kick things off on the first full trading week of the new year, the Standard & Poor's 500, or the S&P as it's more commonly referred to, that is up 49.99 points. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, or the Jones as it's commonly called, is up 624 points. And the NASDAQ Composite, or the NASDAQ Composite, is up 209 points, about 1%. So equity staging a broad-based rally to kick things off for the week here. And when we take a look at other markets that are moving, U.S. 10-year Treasury down 1.8 basis points to 4.171%. Dollar index up 0.04% to 98.195. Gold is up almost 3%, $129.40 to $44.59 even at the moment. And we've got crude oil, West Texas Intermediate, up $1.11 a barrel now to $58.43. This follows the move over the weekend where the United States government captured Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela. And we now have a situation where There are some questions about the future leadership in Venezuela as to who will be in power and who will be supporting them. And it's raised questions about the eventual hopeful production increase of oil and the potential impact on the world economy as a result of that. I think where we generally land, Mike, is because of a number of factors, most notably uncertainty about the political situation in Venezuela, uncertainty about the security situation in Venezuela, the poor state of Venezuelan oil infrastructure, and the difficulty in actually getting the kind of oil out of Venezuela that is produced by it. I think you and I are kind of the opinion, hey, we're probably not going to see any major impact worldwide from this for at least 1 to 3 years, but we'll have to see how the situation evolves because things are obviously very fluid, pun intended.
I was going to say with the caveat that we're talking specifically about the ability and willingness for someone to get oil out of Venezuela. When it comes to follow-on effects such as how does China or Russia or Iran do all this? Like any of the follow-on action here when it comes to China's relationship with Taiwan, the U.S. relationship with China, the trade of rare earth materials, all of those things are, I would say, to some degree at a heightened risk of re-escalating as a result of this. But when it comes specifically to the effect on oil markets and the ability for anyone to get oil out of the ground in Venezuela, I'm on the same time frame with you.
New York Times has a piece, 8 big questions for 2026.
I don't think I have 8, but let's see what they came up with here.
What do you think your big questions are? Before we do the New York Times, why don't we do our big questions? I have several.
My number one big question is, can corporate earnings... Can you see an earnings payoff from artificial intelligence in 2026? I don't know precisely how I measure that yet, but that's probably my number one question. Number 2 is likely, does the labor market deteriorate further materially?
Related to that, does consumer spending continue to hold up in the face of a weakening labor market? Yep. I think is an interesting one. Another one, does housing show a measurable improvement in transaction volume as prices continue to fall throughout larger portions of the country?
Sure.
I think those are, kind of my interesting ones. Here's what New York Times has. What happens when more artificial intelligence initiatives leave the pilot stage?
Okay. I mean, it's in line with what we're looking at, but I think a better proof for that is...
Show me the productivity.
If something leaves the pilot stage and people buy it, then I'm impressed. If something leaves the pilot stage and the New York Times says it's cool, I don't care.
Meta has had, they've been selling their virtual reality goggles for years. They've spent $50 billion on them now. Hasn't done anything. Other ones. How will President Trump's policies affect the economy? Quite honestly, that's kind of table stakes to the whole thing. I don't think that's a worthwhile, how does any president's policies impact the economy in any given year? I don't think that's a question where you're this is something I'm interested in this year. No, that's kind of every year with every president. So I don't think that's a worthwhile question. Here's a good one, and one I can't believe I forgot. Is private credit a ticking time bomb? Why does it have to be ticking?
Only know if the time bomb explodes.
Why do they have to tick is the question. Why do they always have the big digital readout in the movies that tell you how much time is left? It would seem to be more advantageous for the bad guy to not put a big timer on it, but I digress. This is a big one. We saw a few blow-ups in September of last year in particular. Are there more coming? And is it big enough to impact the U.S. economy?
Right.
Will prediction markets maintain their momentum? Specifically, are people going to keep trying to gamble on whether or not I'm going to be able to grow hair this year? I don't think there's one for that, and I hope there isn't. But if there is, take the under. Because I'm probably not going to be able to grow any, real hair this year. Is crypto too big to fail? I don't know what that means. Do we really think that we're going to get crypto bailouts if... that's the implication.
Seem like that is the implication, is that some institution is going to fail because of crypto markets, and then the U.S. government is going to bail it out. That seems extraordinarily unlikely to me.
Seems kind of wild to me. Will the space industry blast off? SpaceX IPO. Yeah, this is interesting to me.
Not to me.
Okay. It's fine.
Yeah.
To each their own. I like space. I'm kind of cool with space.
Yep. Got
it. Will Democrats regain their leverage in Washington? So this is talking about midterms, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And I have no idea. It's 10 months away.
But arguably important for 2026.
Important question,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. What's in store for oil prices? Not a 2026 question. That's a question you ask every year. Then they go through, also on our minds, and this is some just fun stuff that's not big. What's next for Warner Brothers Discovery? As listeners know, I hope this story goes on for decades. I hope this carries me for it's such a good story that I just want to continue. Hang on. Staples in the way here.
How will Mamdani work with the business community?
I don't think it matters unless you live in New York City.
Agreed. Remove it. Well, I guess it's the New York Times, so.
Oh, yeah.
I get why they care.
Okay, fair. Yeah. Will Wall Street raise its bid on college football? Utah, the University of Utah, recently took $500 million from private equity to basically, my understanding is, get a payday loan for their football program. Do more schools follow suit? And how quickly do they realize it's a bad idea because the private equity guys are really good at making money and keeping it for themselves?
Agreed, and I don't think that's something they realize in 2026, so my answer is yes, they will.
Yes, I agree. Will K-culture grow even more?
I thought we were talking about K-shaped economy culture here, and that's how nerdy I am. In fact, we're talking about K-pop demon hunters and all things Korean.
Yes, BTS, who is the biggest boy band in the world now, they're also a Korean K-pop band. They've got their first new CD in years coming out this year. So get ready to hear about that. It would really be an interesting question, actually, if they did a North American tour at some point, compare the sales proceeds to the Taylor Swift tour from 2 years ago. I think that would be a really interesting comp. And will this summer's World Cup tournament be a winning moment for soccer in the U.S.? Well, it depends how you phrase that.
I don't know. But I will say that even from a group of people that cares nothing for soccer, which I was having dinner with over the weekend, and I held my hand up there, we were all talking about and wondering precisely how much we could rent our homes out for the week when it is being played at Gillette Stadium, and I am very seriously considering doing so.
Here's the thing. The slate of games, they expanded the World Cup field this year to 48 teams from 32. Which is a huge mistake because now you have natural rivals Haiti and Scotland going at it in the first game at Gillette Stadium. And in case you don't detect the undertone, Haiti and Scotland are not natural rivals in anything. You're going to get a bunch of bad games and people paying a lot for them and feeling like they got ripped off.
That's fine. How much can I rent my house out for?
Lots.
Right?
Probably lots.
I can get to Gillette Stadium from my home in fewer than 30 minutes. Less than 30 minutes. I
not with game day traffic.
Yeah, not with game day traffic, but without it, I think that I might be able to get a pretty penny for it, and I think anybody south of I-90 is in the same boat.
It's an interesting question.
Not if you're listening to us in Washington State, but otherwise.
Do they have an I-90 there?
I am now interested in soccer because it is completely self-serving.
Good. I'm glad we got that out of the way. Let's take a quick break, and when we return, we'll do a little bit of trivia, and then we'll talk about big tech and whether we want to break them up.
Hear the Financial Exchange every day from 11 to noon on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. Keep it here for the latest business and financial news and the trends on Wall Street. The Financial Exchange is now live on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. If you've been dreaming about a getaway that feels far away but easy to get to, it's time to think about the U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean. This is a place where you can fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Enjoy crystal clear water and powder-soft beaches, world-class dining, sailing, and unforgettable sunsets. And here's the best part. Travel from New England is easy. The U.S. Virgin Islands are part of the United States, which means no passport required and no money to exchange. Just pack your bags and go. Spend your day snorkeling, sailing, hiking, or simply relaxing by the water, and your evenings enjoying local cuisine, live music, and warm island breezes. Explore St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix, 3 distinct islands, each with its own vibe, its own flavor, and its own way of helping you unplug and reset. Start planning your Caribbean escape today and visit usvi.com. Discover why the U.S. Virgin Islands are America's Caribbean paradise. For more information and to book your trip, head to visitusvi.com. That's visitusvi.com.
Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Retirement comes with a lot of exciting freedom, but also with some permanent decisions. 2 of the most important ones are when to file for Social Security and how to set up your Medicare coverage. Claim Social Security too early and your monthly check may be permanently reduced. Missing Medicare enrollment deadlines might mean significant penalties and gaps in coverage. We have a new guide available called How to Apply for Social Security and Medicare. It breaks down when you can apply, what information you'll need, and how these decisions fit into a smart, coordinated retirement plan. Get your copy today by calling 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request the guide online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. This is a message for families who've been putting off their estate planning from the elder law attorneys at Cushing & Dolan. One of the biggest myths about long-term care is that if you didn't plan 5 years ahead, you're out of options. That's simply not true. When a health crisis hits and a loved one needs nursing home care, many families panic and start writing checks for care that may cost over $10,000 a month. The reality is, there may still be meaningful legal options available, even when planning starts late. Cushing & Dolan have just released a new guide called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. It breaks down what the 5-year look-back really means and what steps can still be considered before making decisions that can be incredibly costly. If you're worried about protecting your family and securing your financial future, call Cushing & Dolan at 866-848-5699 to get your free guide today. That's 866-848-5699 or request it online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women,
taking the lives of 1 in 3.
That's more than all forms of cancer combined.
For too long, heart disease and stroke have taken the lives of the women we love.
But we're not giving up because we have something better,
stronger, more powerful.
We have each other.
When we come together and go red,
the more power we have against our greatest health threat.
Visit GoRedForWomen.org today to learn more.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Subscribe to our page and get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The Financial Exchange streams live every day on YouTube. Subscribe to our page and follow market activity all morning long. Only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Just search the Financial Exchange on YouTube and give us a subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Time for trivia here on the Financial Exchange. And on this day in 1855, King Camp Gillette was born. In 1901, King Gillette founded the Gillette Safety Razor Company to sell his newly developed disposable safety razor. And in 2005, Gillette was sold for $57 billion. So, trivia question today. Which company now owns and operates Gillette? Once again, which company now owns and operates Gillette? Be the 7th person today to text us at 617-362-1385 with the correct answer, along with the keyword trivia. and you win a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Once again, the 7th correct response to text us to the number 617-362-1385 with the correct answer, along with keyword trivia, will win that t-shirt. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Piece in the Financial Times. The U.S. is losing its battle to break up big tech. I think
it starts with a false premise.
I'm not really sure we ever had one.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know that there was ever really a convincing effort to break up big tech.
Every administration for the last... I'm trying to think of an administration that didn't have pretty significant ties to big tech. And I mean, maybe if I look back at the last 5 administrations to take the White House, I think the one that probably had the least friendly relationship with big tech was either Trump or Biden, and neither of which have you seen significant push towards anti-monopoly cases. The biggest one that we saw was Google. You've seen some sporadic
one from each of them. You know, like the Trump administration had a couple, the Biden administration had a couple, but it's kind of a situation where, again, pay attention to what people do, not what people say.
Yeah, it's a popular talking point on the campaign trail.
And, like, the thing is, I just don't know that anyone actually cares enough to do anything about this. And I find it kind of problematic because, again, it's especially now that all these companies are trying to come out with their AI machines to do whatever. Like, yes, the technology can be used for good, but I can't tell you how many things I read that are just really quite awful about this stuff. And I'm just not sure that these are the people that you want to be wielding that kind of power.
I tend to agree, but I'm with you that public opinion doesn't seem to care much. I think one positive that I have detected as a parent of young children is that I am seeing more pushback against technology and social media in the hands of young kids than I've seen since the technology existed.
And by the way, I'll add on that if you look at some of the surveys that are being done now on those demos and what they are showing, they're showing exactly what you'd want to see. Lower incidence of depression compared to, 4 or 5 years ago, lower incidence of, cyberbullying, like all the stuff that you want to get rid of is being gotten rid of. And quite honestly, it gets to the point where I don't know how any school district in America can allow phones to be present on campus.
Yeah. And so you're seeing some of that push.
You're starting to see it.
You're starting to see it here and there where schools through high school have full-on cell phone bans from whatever it is, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So that they cannot be used or viewed in the classroom, which I from all the expertise that I've seen has been seen as a big positive. And so, again, that's not going to break up monopolies in this space, but the effect that it has on big social media platforms a decade from now, I'm not really sure what it looks like. I think societally it's probably for the better, but does it mean that Facebook has a very different business model a decade from now? Possibly. I'll acknowledge that it's a distinct possibility based on the changes we're seeing among young Americans, or rather by parents of young Americans.
Let's talk a little bit about the auto industry. A piece from Bloomberg indicating that U.S. auto sales likely to slip a little bit this year as middle-class buyers pull back in the face of rising costs, pretty much whether you're talking about within the auto industry or outside the auto industry. Middle-class families saying, yeah, we don't know if we can afford these stickers.
Only counterpoint, interest rates are probably coming down again this year on auto loans. So, not substantially because a lot of buyers are below or are subprime borrowers, and those rates are still going to be inordinately high. But, yeah, I think
those aren't the drivers of new car sales, though, anyways.
The dealers are pretty good at obfuscating the interest rate that you're actually paying. And so it would be surprising to me if Americans had the financial ability, the literal dollars to be able to keep the sales going at these prices.
Yeah, it seems to be a challenge. And the data reflects this, by the way. New car sales have gone up 45% among households with annual incomes of $150,000 or more since 2019. But they've plunged by 30% during the same period for those earning $75,000 or less, and dropped 7% among families with incomes between $75,000 and $150,000. Which is why I also, this is the story that I tell quite often. The people that are buying new cars, by and large, are wealthy. I know that we always poo-poo the person who's like, don't take out, a car loan that's, $1,000 a month for 8 years. That person often is making $250,000 a year.
Sure.
It still doesn't make it a good idea to do that and everything, but it's not someone with $30,000 in income who's doing that because they can't get that loan.
Right.
It still is something that is, problematic and can lead to some trouble. But hey, look, it's your choice on what you want to spend your money on, and if you want to do the 8-year car loan for $100,000 total, fine, have at it. It's not my thing, but it could be yours. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we get the trivia answer in Wall Street Watch.
Bringing the latest financial news straight to your radio every day. It's the Financial Exchange on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV of Massachusetts has helped me and countless others adjust to civilian life through a variety of incredible programs. Through our local Veterans Assistance Program, we provide necessary services to veterans and their communities, such as food shopping, landscaping, and companionship, but we need your support. You can help by making a donation today. Please visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Did you outgrow your timeshare and now you want out? But you can't. You can't sell it, and you can't get out of the contract. Imagine trying to get out of your mortgage. That's what a timeshare is. You can't just call up the bank and say, I don't want to pay it anymore. But we may be able to help you do just that. Listen, a timeshare maybe for you once was a great thing, but now you don't use it much. And they are not easy to get rid of. Plus, you do have to pay for it every month. Qualified timeshare owners can get out of their contract legally and permanently without ruining your credit or even filing bankruptcy. And imagine no more mortgage payment or fees. Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline qualification line now. It's free to learn more.
800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. That's 800-455-7967. Paid for by Timeshare Defense.
Social Security and Medicare are oftentimes lumped together, but may be handled separately. And depending on your strategy, they could shape your entire retirement plan. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Choosing when to start Social Security has many effects, including determining the amount of guaranteed income you receive each month. Medicare decisions go beyond coverage as they can impact premiums, out-of-pocket costs, and access to providers throughout retirement. Our new guide is called How to Apply for Social Security and Medicare. It will help you learn how these decisions may fit together and how to take the right steps at the right time to build a secure retirement plan. Call us at 800-393-4001 to get your copy of How to Apply for Social Security and Medicare. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request it online from our website, armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
This is Tucker Silva, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange legal quick tip of the day. And today we're talking about last-minute nursing home lessons that can help save your assets. it. Todd, more and more people are providing in-home care for their loved ones. Is there anything a care provider can do that would be beneficial to them or the family?
So if you're already providing care for an individual at home, and more people, as you said, are in fact doing that, the best thing to do is to set up a personal care contract, right? A personal care contract is something that allows you to get paid by your family member, and as long as you report it on your income tax return and prepare a personal care contract, make sure you get an elder law lawyer to help you prepare that contract because it's got to be done right. But if you do those two things, get the contract and provide the care and put the income on your income tax return, the transfers are non-disqualifying transfers. So even if you don't make the 5 years, those dollars that you're moving will not need to be returned and they will be protected. Also, while you're doing that, set up the trust and get the 5-year clock started. Put some assets in because you just never know if you're going to make it or not, and you would always want to have that 5-year clock running to protect your assets.
Cushing & Dolan has written a brand new guide, especially for those of you who have put off doing your planning and are now faced with a last-minute nursing home situation. Request this brand new guide from Cushing & Dolan. It's called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. You can call 866-848-5699, or you can simply request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com. Once again, simply call 866-848-5699, or get it from their website at legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Time now for Wall Street Watch, a complete look at what's moving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Markets seeing a little bit of a rally to begin the week, despite the weekend attack on Venezuela and the capture of its leader. However, there really is no major movement in terms of oil prices. Wall Street's also readying for a on-time jobs report coming up on Friday morning. Right now, the Dow is up 1.4% or 669 points. S&P 500 up about 0.8% or 54 points higher. NASDAQ up about 1% or 227 points. Russell 2000 up 1.2%. 10-year Treasury yield down 2 basis points at 4.167%. Crude oil up over 1.5% higher, trading at $58.28 a barrel. Chevron is among the biggest energy winners on the day as the company is the sole remaining U.S. major oil player in Venezuela. That stock is up 5%. Other energy stocks, including ConocoPhillips, ExxonMobil, and Halliburton, are also seeing gains on the day. Outside of energy, investors are awaiting the Consumer Electronics Show to kick off later today in Las Vegas, where chief executives of both NVIDIA and AMD are slated to speak. Both NVIDIA and AMD are now up over 0.5%. And Comcast shares are up nearly 4% higher now as regular trading of the TV network owner's Versant spinoff began today. Versant shares, by the way, are down 14%. I'm Tucker Silva, and that is Wall Street Watch. And in the previous segment, we asked you the trivia question, which company now owns and operates Gillette? That would be Procter & Gamble. Brian from Erie, Pennsylvania is our winner today, taking home a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Congrats to Brian. And we play trivia every day here on the Financial Exchange. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Do you guys remember when CES used to be cool?
Yeah, if all that it is this time is updates from NVIDIA on their latest semiconductor, then nobody's going to care and nobody's going to watch.
Those aren't consumer products anyways.
Right.
But the big thing is, like, the buzz this year is it's going to be all, like, AI, smart home products and TVs and this and that. And
give me a robot that can fold my laundry for the love of God.
Well,
why aren't we here then?
I was exactly. Give me something like that as opposed to, well, LG is going to be, Samsung's going to be debuting its 115-inch TV.
Yeah, I don't need a car that can guess what driving style I need it in.
Great. Like, I don't need. Oh, you're going to have VR glasses there? No one cares.
Yeah, it's got to be a robot, humanoid robot that can actually do something. That's what I'm looking for.
Something useful, not just something.
Or some really cool car technology. I'm always into what cars can show off. That's a new cool technology. Hopefully RAM will be showing off their weird electric hybrid engine, like something that is actually new in that space, because we keep getting promised self-driving cars, and I can tell you they're not here.
They seem to be pretty close. Like Waymo seems to be pretty darn close.
So
at
give
this
me a
point.
consumer product. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you can have the self-driving car, then you don't need them.
Right. But I'll buy it for pretty.
They'd rather
good
have
price.
you pay them for, having to use it. 7 numbers shaping retirement in 2026. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
These are actually fairly interesting. So I
They
did not
are.
realize 64 is now the average age when men retire. That's up to about 3 years since the mid-90s. That's a pretty substantial increase. The age at which people filed for Social Security has also moved up a couple of years, unsurprisingly, given the changes that we've seen over the last few decades. The total amount invested in retirement accounts has doubled over a decade. Not shocking either, given what markets have done over the course of the last decade, but $45.8 trillion. Can
we talk about that, actually? Because that one surprised me.
Sure.
In that it surprised me that it's not higher.
That it hasn't more than doubled.
Yes,
Yeah,
because you have
with
people making contributions and pension plans making contributions. And over the last 10 years, just as an example, the S&P 500's total return during that time is 305%. Now, I know that you're not invested 100% there, but if we looked at like the Bloomberg U.S. aggregate index, just as an example, let me get the total return. Hang on. Sorry. Here we go. Nope, that's not going to be it. In any case, Bloomberg U.S. aggregate index is up 21% over that time, which, that checks out. And so I think ultimately you look at this, and even if you assumed like a 50-50 split, you'd still say, okay, you made, call it 150%.
Here's my answer. The youngest baby boomer is now like 61 years old.
So you're starting to see more outflows that are kicking in there. That makes sense.
Plus,
demographics.
Plus the new rules on after death. Really, after you die, the pace at which that money has to come out is pretty darn quick.
That clicks.
85% of workers are participating in a 401k if they're offered one.
It's pretty darn
That's
good.
a good number. That's a
good.
fairly solid number.
24,500 is the new maximum 401k contribution for this year. Plus, you've got an $8,000 catch-up for workers age 50 and older, and then the super catch-up that is $11,250 for age 60 to 63 this year.
There's a lot of other ones. I think one that we talk about frequently on this program, the average monthly cost of a nursing home in 2024 was $10,650. Boost that up by about 40% here in the New England area, and that's where you're going to land from what I understand. But look, all of these numbers are important for understanding the greater context of American retirees. And if you are entering 2026 without your New Year's resolutions, Happy New Year, by the way, Tucker.
This, by the way, is the last day you can say Happy New Year.
No, Friday
He said Friday was, and I'm going to continue to do it until mid-February just to make Tucker
I think
angry.
after today...
Every show I'm going to do it to Tucker.
After today, it becomes a question as opposed to a statement.
Happy New Year? If you are entering the new year and you have not put getting your financial house in order on your resolution list, I really think now is the time to do it. If you are over the age of 50, then you are staring down retirement within the next decade and a half, almost certainly. And take the time to remove the anxiety that many feel about that next stage. Do I have enough saved? Am I in the right position? This is a conversation that I know firsthand couples ask themselves very regularly. Do not ignore it. Get your time spent on getting this financial house in order so that you can remove that from the list of anxiety that you might be feeling as we head into the new year. Call the folks at Armstrong Advisory Group. We will set up a free consultation for you and your family to get an understanding of where you stand in terms of your retirement future. The number is 800-393-4001. Make it your resolution. You can check us out at armstrongadvisory.com and book a time for us to call you back. But that number, once again, 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Zillow's CEO is ready for another slow year in the U.S. housing market. Boy, if that doesn't make me want to go out and buy a 42-unit multifamily after their failures predicting the housing market the last few years, I don't know what does. But look, quite honestly, it's going to be slow relative to what we saw in 2017 through 2019 pre-pandemic. Basically, everything that I've seen out there is that you are going to see more transactions taking place this year than last year because there's more inventory and prices are starting to come down, which will help to clear said inventory.
Yeah, so comparatively good news for Zillow after a pretty frozen housing market. They don't seem to be jumping back into the we're going to buy houses and try and flip them game again. I remain a bit confused as to why Zillow doesn't better leverage the eyeballs that they clearly have. This app is bigger than many social media platforms these days in terms of people that log in regularly. And you can't do some very basic things that social media apps have, like share the listing with a friend, or have AI analyze the picture and pick out the furniture for you. Like, there are many monetizable factors here that Zillow isn't taking advantage of. That I'm not saying I would like any of these things in the app, but take a page out of Facebook, guys. Like, you guys have a lot of eyeballs, and I think you can be doing more than selling leads to realtors who want to try and get your listing.
There's actually a really good question that you can ask just based off that. How is Zillow not a social media app?
I'm
not saying I'd want it to be one, because I think that the user experience for me would get worse. But is there anything that people like to do more than, like, show off this house they found, or here's this crazy one I found on Zillow, or
that's exactly my point. Is even the Wall Street Journal allows users to comment on what's going on in the on the thing that they write. If you do a podcast, you can have a chat in there. Like, that does not functionally exist on Zillow.
It actually just clicked for me. Why is trying to police that in an era where people want to without consent share information about where someone lives is a huge problem. So I now understand exactly why they don't allow that.
Yeah, that's fair. I'd be pretty quick to say, oh, look, this is actually the listing for Chuck Zodda, the host of the Financial Exchange.
This is so-and-so's house. Yeah. This is where, William Shatner lives. And, I could see how things could get out of hand very, very quickly there, and now it makes perfect sense why they're not a social network.
I doubt that that's the reason why.
I bet there's a lot of liability, quite honestly.
Yeah.
Because, you have every address in I don't know if it's the world, but at least in the country that's there. And trying to police that would be a nightmare.
Agreed.
Let's take a quick break. When we return, Stack Roulette.
The Financial Exchange Show podcast drops every day on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Hit that subscribe button and leave us a 5-star review. You're listening to the Financial Exchange Radio Network. This is a message for families who've been putting off their estate planning from the elder law attorneys at Cushing & Dolan. One of the biggest myths about long-term care is that if you didn't plan 5 years ahead, you're out of options. That's simply not true. When a health crisis hits and a loved one needs nursing home care, many families panic and start writing checks for care that may cost over $10,000 a month. The reality is, there may still be meaningful legal options available, even when planning starts late. Cushing & Dolan have just released a new guide called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. It breaks down what the 5-year look-back really means and what steps can still be considered before making decisions that can be incredibly costly. If you're worried about protecting your family and securing your financial future, call Cushing & Dolan at 866-848-5699 to get your free guide today. That's 866-848-5699 or request it online at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. If you've been dreaming about a getaway that feels far away but easy to get to, It's time to think about the U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean. This is a place where you can fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Enjoy crystal clear water and powder soft beaches, world-class dining, sailing, and unforgettable sunsets. And here's the best part. Travel from New England is easy. The U.S. Virgin Islands are part of the United States, which means no passport required and no money to exchange. Just pack your bags and go. Spend your day snorkeling, sailing, hiking, or simply relaxing by the water, and your evenings enjoying local cuisine, live music, and warm island breezes. Explore St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix, 3 distinct islands, each with its own vibe, its own flavor, and its own way of helping you unplug and reset. Start planning your Caribbean escape today and visit usvi.com. Discover why the U.S. Virgin Islands are America's Caribbean paradise. For more information and to book your trip, head to visitusvi.com. That's visitusvi.com.
Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Retirement comes with a lot of exciting freedom, but also with some permanent decisions. 2 of the most important ones are when to file for Social Security and how to set up your Medicare coverage. Claim Social Security too early and your monthly check may be permanently reduced. Missing Medicare enrollment deadlines might mean significant penalties and gaps in coverage. We have a new guide available called How to Apply for Social Security and Medicare. It breaks down when you can apply, what information you'll need, and how these decisions fit into a smart, coordinated retirement plan. Get your copy today by calling 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request the guide online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women,
taking the lives of 1 in 3.
That's more than all forms of cancer combined. For too long, heart disease and stroke have taken the lives of the women we love.
But we're not giving up.
Because we have something better.
Stronger, more powerful.
We have each other.
When we come together and go red,
the more power we have against our greatest health threat.
Visit GoRedForWomen.org today to learn more.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
The Financial Exchange is live on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132, weekdays from 11 to noon. Get the latest business and financial news from across the country and around the world, and keep up to date on how it might affect your wallet. That's the Financial Exchange, weekdays from 11 to noon on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV 5K raised over $150,000 last year, but we still need your help. You can support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. Your participation helps provide vital services like free transportation to medical appointments and safe housing for single veterans and their families. Donate today at dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Mike, what do you got for Stock Roulette?
I'm going to go down to New York City because about a year ago they implemented their congestion pricing on the island of Manhattan, Lower Manhattan, and it was a big fiasco. It made national political headlines. The governor stepped in to delay it, but the program has been in effect since January 5th of 2025, and so they're taking a look at how it works. So how it does work is anytime between 5 a.m. and 9 p.m., if you enter the island of Manhattan, you're paying an extra $9 toll to do so. I don't know the exact streets where it's in effect, but so far what they found, about 73,000 fewer vehicles are entering the central business district each day. That's totaled about 27 million fewer entries. They do see spikes in traffic, by the way, right before that 5 a.m. time period and right after that 9 p.m. time period. Generally speaking, traffic is faster in the congestion zone, about 4.5% faster moving traffic during that period of time. And
fewer pedestrian accidents.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, you're seeing the time to transit the Lincoln Tunnel, the Holland Tunnel, Williamsburg Bridge, all up, generally speaking, double-digit percentages compared to this time last year. So I don't really know how you define it as anything other than a success. I think the answer, how you would define it as less than a success, is it is certainly more costly to travel into Manhattan via car.
Sure.
And you might personally find that reprehensible and unfair and unreasonable. Also, I'm guessing there are plenty of people who said the impact would have been far greater and you would have been able to see it greater. But I don't know. I have always liked this type of economic solution to a problem.
Right. If your problem is too much traffic, you can't build your way out of it with lanes. Basically, all of the research out there is if you add more space for cars, they will occupy it.
The best answer is always charge those who are willing to pay. There's been other cities, for example, Sao Paulo in Brazil, basically made it so that if your license plate ended in an odd number, you could only drive on certain days and an even number certain days. And it just didn't work terribly well. And this is a perfect way to capture those who are willing to pay that extra money.
Lawsuit accuses Chicago-based McDonald's of deception on grounds that McRib has no rib meat.
We see these lawsuits, I feel like, every single year, and almost never do they get anywhere.
No. And the lawsuit accused McDonald's of fraudulent omission or concealment, fraudulent misrepresentation, negligent misrepresentation, and a whole bunch of other accounts. And basically it says that the actual pork rib meat cuts are not the cuts that are in there. To which, quite honestly, I say, even if they're not, which I have no idea what's actually in a McRib. Like, I'm not going to be the arbiter of truth. Like, I don't know what's in there. If you order it and you like it, then what's the problem?
Right, and what are going to be the damage? Oh, I ordered this thing 100 times, loved it. I was under the impression it was ribs, and now turns out it's not. I'm seeking damages.
If you ordered it once and didn't like it, then go get another lunch.
Also, if you ordered it once and are going to participate in this lawsuit, then anticipate receiving something like 7 cents.
I find these humorous just because it's kind of like, okay, like we'll sue over anything these days.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, the only people who win when you do this are the lawyers.
100%. Yeah.
They're the only people who win when this happens.
Yeah.
And so,
on both sides.
And so for once,
billable hours, baby.
For once, don't let the lawyers win.
Yeah. No, not going to happen.
They're all listening to this saying, they're just nodding along saying, yes, we're winning.
Yeah.
Like they're nodding along, and there's nothing you and I can do to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're lawyers. They write the law, they understand the law. You and I don't.
Indeed.
But if you're upset about the McRib, just don't eat it. You don't have to sue over it.
Agreed. Last story here at Wall Street Journal. Americans are looking to the Midwest to find affordability. Was just there myself, and I shared a real estate listing with Chuck actually during the program last week.
Yes.
Where we looked at the property, and I think it was a nice property on a lot of land, well below $1 million, and we both looked at it and said, pretty much anywhere in Massachusetts that's going for $2 million plus. So I get why people are doing so. And if you can stomach not being a drive to the ocean, then there's a lot to offer for you.
Lake Michigan's
affordability.
Basically the ocean.
Sure. Can't see the other side.
No, it's all that matters. You know, as long as the lake's big enough that you can't see the other side, it's the ocean. Bring a little bit of Morton salt there, sprinkle it in, you're good to go.
Boom.
Taking a look at markets as we head towards the top of the hour. The Dow's up 732 points. The S&P's up 58. The NASDAQ up 214. So a bunch of green on the board as we continue to kick off 2026. We are back at it tomorrow as we continue with a busy week of trading.